Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Shanakshi Chakravarti. The top story that we have been tracking: no breakthrough in the India-China talks. The Indian and Chinese armies have agreed to work out a mutually acceptable resolution of the remaining issues in eastern Ladakh at the earliest during their 16th round of high-level talks on Sunday. The 16th round of India-China talks yielded no immediate outcome. However, no immediate resolution has taken place over the disengagement in Ladakh. Talks were held at the Chushul-Moldo border on Sunday. Two sides have agreed to continue dialogue. And in fact, amid rising flight scares over the last 1 week, at least 4 instances have been reported in which planes had to be diverted or made unscheduled landings because of the technical glitches. The DGCA, the aviation body, has now come to a conclusion after conducting several spot checks on airlines and directed that all airlines now have to place senior certifying staff at all base and transit stations and ensure that the aircraft are properly equipped. Now, the DGCA has expressed its concerns about the increased engineering-related occurrences in these scheduled airlines. It's over to my colleague Vishnu with all the details.
Let's tell you what exactly this particular order says. Now, the DGCA says that there have been reports of increasing engineering-related occurrences in scheduled airlines in recent times, which is why they conducted spot checks. Now, what have these spot checks indicated? An improper identification of causes of reported defects. That's one of the problems. Another problem is airlines flying with an MEL or minimum working equipment on board. Now, this is important. It's not illegal for an airline to actually do this, but ideally, because they are redundant systems. So if one fails, there's always another one. But ideally, you should be having everything working. And the DGCA says, look, that's what you need to do. Non-availability of required certifying staff. Now, this is also an important point, which essentially means this: when an aircraft is operating at a certain base or it is operating during transit, there have to be engineers of a particular standard and seniority who clear flights for operations. Airlines can actually make do on a one-off clearance for someone junior. The DGCA, the regulator, says don't do that at all, and please implement these orders by the 28th of July. So one way or the other, very serious guidelines for our airlines.
Now, shifting focus to another top story that we have been tracking through the day: the GST rates. The prices from oil to atta and across all essentials have soared because of supply-driven shortages, and the new GST rates on these commodities will now add to the already stretched household budgets. These essential items will now get costlier. Now, let's take a look at those. Packaged items like lassi, dahi, paneer, rice, wheat, atta, gur, which is jaggery, honey and papad, meat and fish. Now, these are the some of the essential items that will see extended GST on it, and especially tax on hospitals versus diamonds. Now, let's take a look. Hospital rooms, which has cost more than 5,000 rupees per day, will now see a 5% GST on that. Take a look at this report.
Whether you eat the staple rice and wheat or the healthier options like barley and oats, you will pay 5% more from today. Curd, lassi, buttermilk, paneer, even jaggery and honey will cost 5% more, with all these everyday items brought under GST.
आप अगर 4,000 का राशन आप महीने में खरीद रहे हो, उसमें से 5% ही बढ़ जाए, आपका 200 रुपीज़ का इन्फ्लेट हो जाए, तो वो इन्फ्लेशन कहीं ना कहीं से तो निकलेगी, बट एक मिडिल क्लास की तो पॉकेट कटती है.
At this kirana shop in Bhopal, both the shop owner and customers are unhappy.
एक आइटम में 5% GST शुरू होगा. एक तरफ महंगाई वैसे ही और दूसरी तरफ महंगाई और बढ़ा रही है गवर्नमेंट, और ज़्यादा ग्राहकी में कमजोरी होगी.
ऑलरेडी सब्जी फ्रूट्स इतने महंगे हैं, तो एक आम इंसान के लिए बहुत डिफिकल्ट है सरवाइव करना एक पर्टिकुलर सैलरी में.
For those queuing up to pay hospital stay bills, a new GST of 5% on hospital beds that cost 5,000 rupees and more. ICU beds are exempt.
Especially from the GST from the hospitals, don't charge. Think in an innovative way to help people who come to hospital how to serve. You should try to improve the rules in insurance department to help the people.
Hospitals have appealed to the government not to impose such a tax.
This is the additional cost for the patients. As a hospital, we have to collect this additional amount from the patients and deposit with the government. So it will be an additional cost for the patients. Various forums we are taking with the governments to remove this additional levy right now. And then we hope that it will be reversed shortly.
The government should consider to keep these type of essential things which are like health, and if we are paying from our pocket and we are paying other taxes, indirect taxes, I think such type of services could be exempted. There could be other areas like cigarettes or other places where they could or they could take those money, or from liquor somewhere, other divisions, and they could compensate for the shortfall, not from hospital beds.
5% GST will now be levied on this pre-packaged but unbranded dal and many such items. Well, the GST hike on essential commodities, not just these daily staples, but many such essential commodities, will have serious implications on the common man's budget. The GST hike comes at a difficult time when consumers are already reeling under inflationary pressures. The camera person Pooja Arya, Vedant Agarwal for NDTV.
And the rupee is just 2 paise away from 80 for a dollar. Priyanshi with the details.
Gone are the days when we'd mentally calculate a dollar price with 70 to get the rupee price. Now we should get habitual to multiplying it with 80. Rupee is now just 2 paise away from hitting that key level of 80 per dollar. Today our currency weakened to a new low of 79.98 per dollar. The government in the parliament said that the outflow of foreign funds and global factors such as the war in Ukraine are dragging the rupee down. It said that the Reserve Bank is regularly monitoring the market and it's intervening to control the rupee slump. But rupee is still continuing its free fall, even though the Reserve Bank is introducing policies, even though it's selling dollars to increase its supply to bring down the dollar's rate. This has in fact led to our forex reserves going down to a 15-month low, down by 8% in just the last 6 months. But the government says that it's not all bad news. While rupee depreciated against dollar, it has appreciated against the pound, yen and euro. Rupee is 8% down against the dollar just this year, but it's 11% up against yen, around 5% up against pound and euro. So it might be a good idea to travel to Europe or Japan at this time. But jokes aside, it's still a bad news for the economy at large. Most of our imports are paid for in dollars, and more expensive imports could further increase inflation for all of us. But there's also some good news today. Stock markets surged to their 1-month high. They gained over 1.4%. Sensex gained 760 points, ended at 54,521. Nifty gained 229 points to end at 16,278. Indian markets surged following their global peers, a 1% rise in US retail sales in June and a rise in consumer sentiment in the United States cooled down fears of a 100 basis point Fed rate hike and boosted markets globally.
And shifting focus to the presidential elections to choose the 15th president of India, a race between NDA's Droupadi Murmu and the opposition's Yashwant Sinha was held on Monday. The contest is seen as all but over, counting parties that declared support for Ms. Murmu. Take a look.
Voting to choose India's 15th president in these indirect elections, where over 4,000 MPs and MLAs across the country voted on Monday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was the first person to vote in Parliament, followed by his colleagues in the cabinet and other MPs, while MLAs voted in their respective assemblies across the country. With numbers stacked in her favour after like-minded parties BJD and YSR Congress and also Shiv Sena and Jharkhand Mukti Morcha extended support, ruling BJP-led NDA's candidate Droupadi Murmu is all set to become the first tribal woman president of the country.
एक हमारी बहन जनजाति समाज से आने वाली अब राष्ट्रपति बनेंगी। उत्साह से उनके पक्ष में मध्य प्रदेश में वोट हो रहा है और मैं तो यही अपील करूंगा कि दलगत सीमाओं से भी ऊपर उठ के हम अंतरात्मा की आवाज पर अपना वोट करें।
Yashwant Sinha, who is contesting as the joint opposition candidate against Droupadi Murmu, called this an existential battle for democracy.
ये चुनाव मैंने बार बार जोर दे के कहा है कि बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है, क्योंकि आने वाले दिनों में ये दिशा तय करेगा कि भारत में प्रजातंत्र बचेगा या धीरे धीरे करके समाप्त हो जाएगा।
On the same day, Jagdeep Dhankar, former governor of West Bengal and ruling NDA's candidate, filed his nomination for the vice president polls.
भारत के लोकतंत्र के लिए ये एक मेजर माइलस्टोन मानता हूं कि साधारण किसान का बेटा आज नॉमिनेशन कर आया है। मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री का कृतज्ञ हूं, लीडरशिप का कृतज्ञ हूं कि उन्होंने मुझे यह सुअवसर दिया।
Well, the opposition parties have jointly announced Margaret Alva as their candidate for the vice president polls. TMC, which played an active role in naming Yashwant Sinha for the presidential elections, is tight-lipped on its support for Margaret Alva. Party sources say that the decision whether to support Alva will be taken in the meeting on July 21st. With camera person Ashwini Mehra, this is Arvind Gunasekar for NDTV.
And in fact, Droupadi Murmu's journey from what used to be a backward tribal belt to the Raisina Hill in the national capital has not been an easy one. NDTV's Harsha Kumari with this ground report.
On the border of Orissa and Jharkhand, Mayurbhanj district. 80% of the population here are tribals, and the Santals, the community from which Droupadi Murmu hails, is the dominant group. Droupadi Murmu's journey from what used to be this backward tribal belt to Raisina Hill has not been an easy one. Her small village of Upparbeda was only recently completely electrified. She became the first woman to leave her village for Bhubaneswar to get a college degree. Her parents could afford to give her only 10 rupees a month while she studied. Some of that struggle and simplicity reflected in her 5-room house in Rairangpur. Built by her husband in the 19s, this modest dwelling is where she continues to live.
देश का एक नंबर नागरिक होने जा रहा, हमको इतना खुश लगता है, मतलब हम भी मतलब ये नहीं कर सकता हूँ कि कितना खुश हूँ करके।
Droupadi Murmu's personal life has been struck by tragedy. She lost her 2 sons and her husband. In the village of Paharpur, she built a school in their memory.
मतलब जो गरीब लोग हैं टाउन नहीं जा सकते हैं पढ़ाने, तो इसी चलते मैडम यहाँ बोले कि नहीं यहाँ स्कूल रेसिडेंशियल स्कूल बनाएंगे जो कि गरीब बच्चे यहाँ पढ़ सकते हैं।
In Paharpur, now Droupadi Murmu's home, the women are excited. Her political journey has given them a sense of empowerment. लड़कियाँ जाती है क्या यहाँ से पढ़ने के लिए?
हाँ जाती है, साइकिल पे जाती है पढ़ने के लिए। आने जाने के लिए स्कूल गाड़ी में व्यवस्था हो जाएगा तो हम सुविधा होंगे।
The school in this village is only up to class 8. For further studies, the children have to go 3 to 4 kilometers away. The nearest health center is also 4 kilometers away, and drinking water is a problem.
आम गाँव रे जदि गोटे मेडिकल रहिबो ताहले सेटा भी बहुत सुविधा हेबो। आ 8 क्लास तक तो अच्छी, किंतु 9, 10 आ कॉलेज पर्यंत गाँव रे गोटे रहले एजुकेशन पय सबठु भलो हेबो।
Droupadi Murmu is positioned to become the first citizen of this country, and her elevation carries immense symbolism for this tribal belt. For the Adivasi population that existed on the fringes of society, it's now time to take center stage. In Droupadi Murmu's village, with camera person Gauri Prasad, Harsha Kumari Singh, NDTV.
And the Central Bureau of Investigation has arrested 8 people on Monday for involvement in a rigging racket in the NEET medical entrance exam on Sunday. Officials have alleged that the impersonators planned to appear in the NEET undergrad exam 2022 that was recently held for admissions in undergraduate medical courses in place of actual candidates and take the test in lieu of huge amounts of money. And the matter of dispute arising after offering namaz at Lulu Mall in Lucknow, the capital of Uttar Pradesh, does not seem to be cooling down. On Sunday, the regional director of Lulu Mall presented a clarification on the entire development so far. Whatever workers we have here, they are not hired in the name of caste, religion, but on the basis of their efficiency and on the basis of merit, in which more than 80% are Hindus and the rest are Muslims, Christians and other sections of people. That's what was clarified by the mall. A controversy broke out after a video purportedly showing a group of people offering namaz at the mall surfaced on social media. A right-wing outfit had objected to people offering namaz inside the mall and sought permission from the authorities concerned to recite the Hanuman Chalisa there, which was declined. The centre on Monday has asked ports and airports across the country to ensure strict health screening of all international travellers to contain the spread of monkeypox on the day when India reported its second case from Kerala. Earlier on Monday, a 31-year-old man from Kerala who returned from Dubai tested positive for monkeypox. Last week, a man who had returned to Kerala from the UAE also had tested positive for monkeypox. And on to some international headline now, and Rishi Sunak's chances improve with every debate. That means if he is elected, he could be Britain's first person of Indian origin to become the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. After the second debate over the weekend, the former Chancellor or the Finance Minister is now the clear favourite to be the next British Prime Minister. He has taken a big 8 to 9% lead over his closest competitor, Penny Mordaunt, the former Defence Secretary. Liz Truss, Boris Johnson's Foreign Secretary, is now trailing at third place. The next party vote is on Monday. Sunak has topped the first two so far, but on the next TV debate, the third that is, has been cancelled after Rishi Sunak and Truss said they will not participate.